All right. Good news. Here we are. This week in Cassandra number 2. It looks like we didn't give up right away. Pretty exciting. So I'm John Haddad. Rest your razor blade on Twitter. So today we're going to be talking with Luke Tillman. We got Jui Hai. We got Christos from Netflix. This is awesome. And I've already forgotten the last name. I'm totally terrible at pronouncing it. Kalance something.
Close enough.
Kalance.
Close enough.
So yeah, we're going to just be talking about this week in Cassandra. This accompanies a blog post that's up on Planet Cassandra, which you can check out now. So let's just take a look here. We got some projects and blogs. We got some JIRAs that we want to talk about. So first up, we got 3 Cassandra releases, bug fix updates to the 2.2, 2.1, and the 3.3. Pretty good stuff. You should definitely take a look at the changelog. For that, I won't get into really any detail on this because it's bug fix releases. But we do want to talk about some blog posts. So the first thing we'll take a look at, we've got Cassandra, the Foundation, Big Data Building Block. This is written by Ben Bromhead from Instacluster. So you guys, what did you guys think about this?
So my takeaway was basically he was kind of saying, getting started with Cassandra can be hard. Make sure you do your due diligence, and if you need to engage experts, which I think Instacluster certainly qualifies as experts in this area. Don't be afraid to reach out and kind of engage, because you're going to make mistakes essentially.
Yeah. One thing that I wanted to bring up, I don't know if people know this. So Instacluster is actually a hosted Cassandra, and that's one of the things that I hear a lot of people asking questions about, like especially with small teams not having big operations. I don't think a lot of people even knew Instacluster existed. So that's kind of like the hey, I can run a database in Amazon and they'll host it for me, and I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
It's
so I was
a
asking.
lot of these companies popping up. Instacluster is definitely one that's high profile. There's other ones as well who are doing managed hosting. I think Datascale comes to mind. Full disclosure, I advise on that one, datascale.io. But I think it's just great that there's this community being built around Cassandra, both hosting and consulting. Our friends at The Last Pickle do some great work helping people get up and running and over certain hurdles running Cassandra. I know the Pythian guys do some good work as well. So I'm just happy to see this community grow, and it just shows the viability of this project and the support behind it.
Yep. And you probably have one of the more interesting perspectives, having been such a long-time user, putting it in production when it's kind of like, hey, like there's a couple people using this, but let's just go with it.
We had a need. Cassandra met that need, and we just rolled with it. I mean, when we moved to the cloud, basically everything was new. There's nothing out there that met running a large-scale operation in the cloud. So going Cassandra, even in its very nascent state, was probably the most mature part of our whole stack back then.
Yeah, speaking of that migration to the cloud, I saw that blog post from you guys making the rounds on Twitter this week, so maybe we get a chance at the end to kind of mention that, and maybe you can talk a little bit about completing the migration to the cloud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we can even talk about that right now.
So we completed our migration to the cloud. Yeah. No, we had a couple of bits left in a data center, and it was kind of billing and payments, as the article talked about, and that's really touchy from both a compliance point of view and just a complexity point of view. So we took our time with that. We really wanted to make sure we dotted all the I's and crossed the T's. And very early this year, we were able to kind of like give the keys over to the data center providers and say, hey, we don't need it anymore.
Nice. Very cool.
I would like to add something that the need to have a Cassandra as a service is growing more and more, even for small companies. We have seen here in Europe that sometimes you have like very small startup with like 10 people, and when they bootstrap with Cassandra, they try to do it the right way with the data model, but they don't have enough resources to run all the infrastructure themselves. So having a service like Cassandra as a database is very, very useful for all of those companies.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, it's good stuff. I love seeing this, and having different companies trying to make different offerings with different competitive ideas. I think is awesome for the ecosystem.
And I think we do have here in France, we have a partner which also is doing the same thing as Intercluster. They are not as well known, but they are very well known in France, and they are basically offering the same thing.
Yep. Nice.
And I think that in future we will see more and more actors on this field.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the next blog post that we have, locking down Apache Cassandra logging. This is by Nate McCall from The Last Pickle. This, I'll just say, this is, I really like this post. Anything that touches operations is something that I like. I think that we don't have enough time looking at operations in general. Like, there's a lot of developers-focused stuff, but simple things like logging is so important and frequently gets overlooked. So it's nice to see some content around that.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could adjust logging levels with NoTool. That was news to me. Like, I knew you could do it through XML files and the other stuff, but I didn't know you could do it with NoTool. I mean, it doesn't surprise me because NoTool is like the Swiss Army knife of Cassandra. But yeah, definitely interesting. I learned.
What is your take on NoTool being? So you mentioned it's a Swiss Army knife. Some see it as a positive, but I go back to my Unix. My Unix background, where the Unix ethos is a lot of small programs you can pipe together and do something interesting, and kind of shy away from something where you just add, you make this kind of big monolith of an app.
Yeah. This is a tough one for me because there's so much. There's probably a lot of dependencies that are going on inside, and NoTool is really just like a way to get a lot of JMX stuff anyway. So I think if you take a look at like the actual NoTool command line app, it's really just a bunch of like branches to go off to like dedicated routines.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really bother me that much, but I would like to see more some like on the Unix idea, like being able to take the output of one command and easily pipe it to another command without it having like super dedicated output that's like harder to parse. Like different like column family stats and things like that. Like trying to looking at histograms, it would be nice to get that information out in like either JSON where you could like easily bring it into like Python programs. And this stuff it may actually have gone back in there. I can't remember if this stuff is like out and back in or whatever. The formats seem to change every release. But yeah, I would love to be able to compose NoTool subcommands with other programs more easily.
It would be interesting to ask some of the committers that have been around for a while what the history of that is, like how it kind of ended up the way it did. I imagine you're right. It's because it's a wrapper around a lot of the, it's probably got a lot of dependencies on the internal Java code. Yep.
The only thing I'm afraid of is we are adding more and more like commands to NoTool, and now you have a huge list of many things you can add, you can use. I think we may need to organize those stuff cleanly someday. I mean, you have commands for operations, command for logging, command for setting throughputs. Because right now it's just a bunch of things. You do NoTool help, but blah, it's like 2 pages of commands. So yeah, where can I go? Something like this.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think it may mature in some bigger tool, like not only command line, but maybe it will provide you some interface to interact with. It's like a long-term goal, long-term dream.
Yeah. All right. What else we got here? Oops, I just totally lost my page. Apache Cassandra for Analytics, a Performance and Storage Analysis by Evan Chan of TuppleJump. I think. Well, what do you guys think about this one? Are you guys actually? Let me before we get into this, Christos, are you guys using Spark against your raw Cassandra stuff or against your raw Cassandra data?
So a little bit, yes, but probably not for what you think we are.
Okay.
We use Spark against raw Cassandra for operational reasons. Maybe a team wants to do some batching on a regular basis, so they pick some downtime, not take the cluster down, just some downturn of throughput on the cluster and run some jobs. But we don't do much of that. Because we do microservices, and that's why we go out and say we have 250 clusters, because almost every app has its own cluster. So we have this big pipeline which we've documented called Aegis, which takes our S3 backups, dedupes them, transforms them to JSON, puts them in a big HDFS drive, and then we run jobs off of that.
Gotcha.
So it's used, but not as much as I don't even want to say as we like. It's just not practical for us.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, what did you guys think of this? What did you guys think of the post?
You and I think had a similar reaction because you just posted it in chat right before we came online. When I was reading it, I was thinking because he documented Cassandra 2.1 or 2.2 with compact storage turned on, and I was thinking to myself, ooh, I wonder what 8099 and the new storage format in 3.0 did to those numbers. I wonder what it would look like with the more efficient storage format.
Yep. Yeah. One of the things that he mentioned was having to shorten the column names because of the overhead in SS tables from column names, and that's completely removed in 3.0, which is why I brought that up. The other thing that I wanted to look at, and we'll touch on this, we brought up the new indexes going into Cassandra. We talked about that last week a little bit. I would love to see some performance benchmarks of the SASE indexes versus the existing Cassandra indexes. I think it's looking really, really cool. And I think I hilariously or fantastically, that actually brings us directly into the next blog post. What's up?
Great segment. Great segment.
Yeah.
Segue, sorry.
Yeah. I wrote this one, so I'm a little bit biased. I liked it. But I talk a little bit about the new indexes. Like, if you're at all interested in being into the latest, Cassandra, like what's happening in the Cassandra trunk. This is a post that you'd want to read. Really, really good work by Jordan West and Pavel. PMC for Cassandra. Really, really great stuff. I was really, really excited to see this stuff get merged in. I know, Juihai, you've been playing with it probably even more than I have.
Yeah, I have some index option validation issue that can let your index in a stored state, but now it's fixed. So, and I think they have found another issue with mem table switch.
Yep.
It's because SASE is keeping its own data structure in memory. So if you have a bunch of data coming in, it can grow to 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte of data. So now they are fixing it on the way, and I really, really hope that it will be really, really performant and nice when it gets merged into the 3.4. So.
Yep. I'm so pumped about this.
And I already scheduled a tour of all meetups here in Europe and to shout out about this SASE stuff.
Nice.
So it's on the way.
That's awesome.
I think it's the most disruptive, I mean, in terms of usability for the user. The most disruptive feature since last 2 years.
Yeah,
Since
I agree with you.
lightweight transaction. For me, lightweight transaction was a huge jump, in terms of usability because it provides you some atomic construct to build like a strong, consistent operation. And now with SASE, it opens up all possibility for searching and querying. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Christos, what version? What are you on right now over at Netflix?
2.0. This week we just begun our upgrade to 2.1. To be clear, we're going from 4.6.x DSC to 4.8 dot whatever 4. Is that the latest one?
Yeah, whatever
DSC.
this one is.
Yeah, which has Cassandra 2.1 underneath.
Yep. Okay. Very cool. All right, what else we got here? Blog post that went up today. This one I think is really interesting. If you're thinking about 3.0 and using the materialized views, it's Jake over with us at DataStax. Really, really good post on the trade-offs of materialized views. I love posts like this. It's just here's all the details that you need to know. And it's really, really well written. What did you guys think?
Yeah, even the refresher at the beginning, if you're kind of new to Cassandra and you don't even know what the materialized view stuff we're kind of talking about is, like even the kind of quick refresher of guarantees and trade-offs that Cassandra gives you would be great for somebody brand new to Cassandra. He does a really good job of summing that up, even at the beginning of the post. But yeah, I would say, it's funny, Juihai said, SASE indexes are probably like the biggest step in usability that we've seen in a couple of years. Like I would add materialized views to that list too, like kind of making the denormalization that we teach people, out in the field that you do when you data model, kind of making that baked into the database, I think is also a huge step forward in usability.
I would add a remark to this for materialized view. I have been talking with some end users of Cassandra, and so they were so excited with MV, so they jumped in. And what they saw is, right now we have a limitation of one non-primary key column that you can pick from your base table to add to your primary key column on your view. And this limitation is very, very a showstopper for them. Because sometimes they are bucketing, they have some time series and they are using bucketing. So it means that a composite partition key. So the fact that you cannot allow more than one non-primary key column is really, really annoying. And I spend my time explaining to them, okay, there are reasons we can't do that right now because it opens a lot of edge cases that can break your view. But as an user, they feel like very frustrated. So I told them that there's a driver to fix that, but it's not going to be something that we can do really fast because we need to retain all about the data consistency model.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a complicated issue. I think that in general with Cassandra, one of the things that I notice, especially if you're talking to someone who's just using like a relational database, especially if it's on a single machine and they're not used to thinking about things in a distributed fashion, coming over to Cassandra, there's a lot of like hesitancy, like, oh, how come I can't just do this? People don't understand that, the data center, there is latency, that networks fail, there's just a lot of issues that you have to think about when you're working with a distributed database that you kind of just don't really need to. Like, locks are not cheap in a distributed world. And so I think getting something like understanding all the nuance of materialized views can be really, really difficult for people, especially if they have no experience with distributed databases.
And there's trade-offs with materialized views even in a single machine RDBMS as well. And it amazes me, back in the day where people didn't understand that either. I remember once working on a DB2 database, and they had materialized views on, but they had it set to update every time there's a mutation underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And they wondered why their database was being thrashed from a load point of view. So, I mean, materialized views, I hope people don't walk away thinking, hey, we just solved everyone's problem with that. People need to really understand what the trade-offs are, what the benefits and the trade-offs are, and I think this article is great at pointing that stuff out.
Yep, definitely.
And what is amazing is sometimes when you show them the trade-off, they say, "Oh, it's not that good, it's not that sexy. So I will come back to my, manual denormalization with batches." And I said, "No, don't, because if you think about it, even in your case, when you are doing manual denormalization with batch and with read before write, you have a lot of corner cases you don't see. And now that we created MV and we show you those corner cases, now you realize that doing it manually will expose you to all those issues that you just don't think about when you are doing it manually."
Yep, definitely. All right, so let's see now. Moving along, we've got the PHP CQL driver 1.1 released. There's a blog post about that supporting PHP 7. I think we can just let people read that blog post since it's more of like a changelog.
Yeah.
We've got CassieQ, which is a queue built on Cassandra. I always tell people not to do that.
All of us do, I think.
This one's
so we sinned very badly, and in SDNX we released a queue recipe on top of Cassandra, and unfortunately people started using it here at Netflix and outside of Netflix. This seems very interesting. Not relying on tombstones and not relying on deletes. This is definitely something we're going to test out, because there is no multi-data center queues out there.
Yep.
And if this can solve a problem Netflix has with cross data center queuing, then this might be very interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
And it reminds me a lot of how Kafka works by storing, instead of having like deleting the data, it's just you have a client that's reading something and it stores a positional offset, right? So it's kind of cool. You could use it for, if it works well, it could be suitable.
And no Zookeeper involved.
Exactly. Yeah. Zookeeper is definitely something that I like to keep out of my data center. We've got a new version of the Spark connector for Cassandra. So if anyone is using that, definitely should check out the RC1. Should have a solid GA release soon, hopefully. I love Spark, so this is just exciting to me. I'm just like, ooh, a new version of the connector. We got some events coming up. We have Cassandra Day LA coming up on the 17th. We have some meetups. Definitely take a look at the blog at the Planet Cassandra post if you're interested in any of these events in LA, Melbourne, Reading, or Austin, Texas. Some good stuff. I see that we've got a job opportunity at Netflix. Pretty exciting.
Netflix is always hiring, and right now I'm hiring. Although we're always hiring and we've got a lot of positions open, this is a position in my team, in my organization, and it's not directly a Cassandra opportunity, but it's an automation engineer opportunity. And I invite you all go through the deck. I tried something different. I didn't do a job description. I did a presentation of what the job is. But to sum it up, things go wrong. It takes a different kind of engineer to want to automate things and never repeat manual tasks more than once. And if you're that type of engineer, take a look at the description, reach out to me. My contact info's in there, and I'd love to chat with you.
Awesome. All right, let's look at the Jira updates. Let's try and go through these kind of quickly. We've got thrift removal. That's happening in 4.0. Yes.
Finally.
And I think Christos, you guys had your blog post last week about finally saying goodbye to thrift.
Retiring an old friend.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's,
STNX was built on top of Thrift, and at the time, it solved some of the issues Hector had. And for those who don't know your Greek mythology, STNX is the son of Hector, and I think Cassandra Summit 2012. We presented STNX to the public, and we lovingly called it Hector's smartass son. But yeah, no, CQL, the CQL binary protocol is definitely moved way ahead of Thrift, and it's easier to use. It's going to be a lot of refactoring for us, but we think it's well worth it, and we think it was also time to just let the community know that, hey, CQL is here. Even Netflix is going to move off of it in the next 18, off of Thrift in the next 18 months.
Yep.
So you might want to start thinking about it yourselves.
And now there was a comment in your blog, and someone asked the question, are you going to be writing your own CQL drivers?
No, we will not.
No way.
No. We've gone down that path once. There was a need. We filled it, but at Netflix, we don't write software for the sake of writing software. We're not like Uber in that. Oops, sorry. I really believe that if there's something out there, go and use it. Contribute back to the project if you think you can do it better or add or enhance it. I'm a really huge believer in that, and we are actually going to enhance it internally. So we're going to create a wrapper around the DataStax Java driver, and that's not because there's any faults in it, but simply because we need to integrate it with our internal environment and the way we do service discovery and the way we do tracking of API calls.
Yep.
So we may or may not open source that. We'll show it off to a couple of close OSS friends, DataStax included, and if there's value, we'll open source it. But definitely, no, we're going the DataStax Java driver route.
Cool, good to hear. I believe this next Jira has been sitting around for a while. A nice little optimization. Juiha, I think you were involved in this. This min-max column name metadata.
I did a test. I inserted 3 like a while row with 3 clustering columns. I flush between each insert, and then when I do a select limit 1 with the tracing on, I saw that Cassandra is just hitting 3 SS tables.
Mm-hmm.
So it started like something very easy, but in fact this Jira is sitting for so long because we had a refactoring in between.
Yep.
So now I'm really happy that it's getting in.
Cool. Nice little optimization. And then what's the deal with this Java UDF types, the generic ones?
Oh, this one. When I was showing UDF during my meetups, I created some sample use cases. And I just realized that when you declare an UDF, a function with parameter, which has like a type parameters, like a list of string, list of integer or whatever in SQL, and when it compiles by the server just lose the generic type. So it's just stupid. And then in your source code, you need to cast the type manually, which is absolutely ugly.
Yeah.
Now it is fixed.
So a nice little ergonomic improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And we've got user-defined compaction through NoTool. This is something I don't think most people know exists, but you can tell Cassandra to just compact whatever SS tables you want. Who cares?
it can be very handy because I was thinking sometime people with size tier compaction, you can have like huge SS table and a lot of smaller one, and those huge guys, they will never be picked by the algorithm. So with this user-defined compaction, you can say, oh, just pick those and compact them together. Remove all the tombstone.
Awesome.
Very handy.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. That's half an hour, and I think we've covered everything that's in here. I definitely recommend, if you want to look into more detail in any of the stuff that we've been talking about, we've got links to all the releases, all the blog posts. So there's a lot of good content. So thanks, Christos, for coming in. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're definitely pretty pumped about this. So we're definitely going to keep this going as well. So next week, we'll be doing another This Week in Cassandra. So, all right. Anything else to say, anyone? Nope. All right. All right. I think we can end it now. Goodbye.
Thank you.